Hi, I'm Amanda McKay. I'm a professional artist and I'm making videos of creativity tips to help people enhance their creativity regardless of their level of expertise. For this tip, I want to talk about the concept of calling something done and finishing whatever it is that you've been working on, whether it's a painting, a song, a poem, and just being able to say, this is finished. Now, I actually had somebody who recently was asking me, well, what's the point of finishing anything? Why, if you're such an accomplished painter, why would you care about ever finishing anything? And why not just paint because you love to paint? Well, okay, there is something to that. I mean, yes, lots of people would just create just for the fun of creating something, almost in like with a sense of childlike wonder even sometimes, and just the joy of putting colors onto a page, or writing words down, coming up with a melody, whatever. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. And for some people, that's what they like to do with their creative practice. But I would say the majority of people want to have some kind of a sense of accomplishment, that they finish something. If you're a professional artist or aspiring to be, you certainly want to have a body of work. And if you never finish anything, you're not going to have anything to sell. So how can you be a professional artist? That'd be a little bit difficult. And even if you're not trying to be a professional, you can mark your progress. You can see how you've improved when you have things that you've completed. But if you just keep reworking the same thing over and over again for years, it's going to be really hard to feel a sense of accomplishment or be able to see that, like, oh, I've gotten better at doing this. Because the way you're going to get better is by doing multiples of whatever it is that you're working on, whatever your form of art is. So how do you know when something is done and when it's finished? And I know that with certain types of art, like recording music, I think they refer to something as being abandoned rather than done, because musicians tend to think that they can always do it better, and maybe they can, but at some point you just have to say, this is as good as this one's going to get. I myself don't ever feel like I've gotten to 100% of what I want a painting to look like, maybe 90 to 95%, and that's where I call it done. I think that when somebody feels like they have to keep reworking the same thing over and over and over, I think that actually most likely comes from a place of fear, like that this is like that they're not happy with whatever their abilities are at this point, and they don't want to call it done because somehow that's admitting defeat. Like, this isn't as good as I want it to be, so I'll just keep working on this one thing, and if I never give up, if I never say that I'm done, then I never have to admit that it's not as good as I want it to be. But the truth is, you're unlikely to be able to get better if you're not doing multiples of whatever it is that you're working on, multiple poems, multiple paintings, whatever. If you don't do at least a few of them, it's going to be hard to get better. And that can include, like, you can do a painting. I've done this before. I do a painting and then I think, like, oh, I could do this better. And then but usually I'll see like a couple of things to change, and then I might start over and do another version of it. And I have done that a few times over the years. But if you're just starting out, I would say maybe just ask yourself, are you at 70% of what you were going for? I think if you're at 70% and you feel like you're just reworking the same, you're just, okay, I need to change this, I need to redo this. If you're at about 70%, then I would say call it done. If you're more experienced, then you might shoot for 85 to 90% of how you wanted it to turn out. But once you are able to call something finished, a lot of the fear goes away, and you're not going to spend so much time thinking, like, I have to redo this, I have to redo this. You can just do one and say, okay, it's done, I'll move on to the next thing. And then you can look back, after a year or two, you can look back and you can see what you did, and most likely you'll see that you've got some kind of improvement because you're able to mark your progress because you were finishing things. And I have some friends who just started very recently, they're doing a podcast, and I think they had only done one podcast so far, and it was actually pretty good. And I know they're trying to do the second one, and one of them was saying how they felt like they kept reshooting the same thing over and over again, and at that rate, they were never going to finish it. And I mean, that's true. Like, you have to at some point just say, okay, this is good enough. And again, if you're just starting out, that might be at 70% of what your original vision was. But you're not going to get better as long as you just keep rehashing the same thing and telling yourself, well, it's not done, so therefore I don't have to admit that it's not as good as I want it to be. But please do not fall into that trap. Just try it. If you've got something that you've been stuck on and you're just working it over and over, then just try saying like, okay, maybe I'll work on it for 2 more hours. You can give yourself a time limit and say, at that point it's done. Or, you can just use the percentage amount, decide what percentage it needs to be of your original idea, and how close are you to that. And then just call it done. And then eventually you will have a body of work if that's what you're going for, or at least you'll have the sense of accomplishment that you finished something, and you'll be able to build on that and improve if that's what you're hoping to do. If you're hoping to get better, that's really just about the only way that you can do that. So let me know in the comments if you've experienced this before, if you agree that feeling like you can't finish this and you have to keep reworking it. Do you agree with me that that's often just based on fear? Let me know in the comments, and I hope you found this video to be useful. Again, my name is Manda McKay, and thank you so much for watching.